Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Real Madrid, their past and their present, and how they continue to keep putting out amazing teams and replacing players to keep Real Madrid and the Galacticos going. If you look at Real Madrid's recent history from the 2010s until now, they've gone through two major teams, and right now they've really rebuilt their new team. But in the 2010s, they had players like Ronaldo, Benzema, Bale, kind of the big three there. They had Iker Casillas in the early going of it, and then Kylian Navas near the end of it. And they've really rebuilt this new team with Vinicius Jr., Kylian Mbappe, Rodrigo, Valverde, and Thibaut Courtois in net. And it's really interesting to see how this team has gone from the 2010s till now, and kind of how they've rebuilt these teams. What team do I think is better, and how do I think Real Madrid continues to be able to do this? But let's start off, and let's look at the Real Madrid 2010 team and give you a brief recap of how they would have lined up in a 4-3-3 formation. So in net, they would have had Casillas or Kylian Navas, but in this case, we're going to go with Casillas in net. Then they had Carvajal at right back, Varane and Ramos were their center backs, and Marcelo was the left back, who was one of the best left backs of all time, in my opinion. In the midfield, their holding midfielder was Casemiro, and their two forward midfielders were Luka Modric and Toni Kroos, who were two lethal passers and really spread the field and opened up the play for the forwards going up into attack. And then on the right side, they had Gareth Bale. On the left side, they had one of the best players of all time, Cristiano Ronaldo. And down the middle, they had Karim Benzema. This was one of the greatest teams ever constructed and was absolutely lethal both domestically and in the Champions League, and would have been a force to be reckoned with in any type of World Cup scenario as well if they were ever to play in that. Now let's look at the new team that they built for the 2024-25 season and see how it compares. So the team sheet for that team in a 4-3-3 formation, we would start out with Thibaut Courtois in net, Dani Carvajal, the only player returning back into this lineup on the right back position. Our two center backs would be Rudiger and Eder Militao, and the left back would be Mendy, who is absolutely lethal in FC24 and all the previous FIFAs as well. Their midfielders would be Valverde, Camavinga, and Jude Bellingham, and their forwards would be Rodrigo on the right side, Kylian Mbappe down the middle, and Vinicius Jr. on the left side. Again, another lethal team that will most likely win multiple Champions Leagues going forward. Also, it's good to remember that with these teams, they had various bench players that would often feature for them. Like the 2010 team, Isco and Asensio would oftentimes feature in the starting lineup and help them win Champions Leagues. And with this new team, they would have Vasquez and Golasso and Fernandez, who would slot in case of injury or also help win matches as well. The Real Madrid is just such a mystical team. They win all the time, and any player will be lucky to play for them. But which team do we actually think is better? So why don't we go through position by position and say which player is better? So if we look at, let's start in net with Casillas and Navas versus Thibaut Courtois. I would have to give it to Casillas if he played the entire 2010s, but he did not. So in this case, I'm going to go with Courtois, who his just size and brilliance and excellence in net would be enough to be the best player in this case. At the right back, we have a push because it's Carvajal and Carvajal. So both teams get a victory there. So right now we're tied at 1-0 for the present team. Then if we go back to our center back, let's look at Rudiger versus Varane. I would go with Varane in this case. He was absolutely vital for them in winning those Champions League trophies during the 2010s for Real Madrid. Rudiger is a great center back, and he'd be great anywhere he went, but I think Varane was really a vital spine for them. And then let's go to Militao versus Ramos. It has to be Ramos here easily. Probably one of the greatest center backs of all time, a true leader for this Real Madrid team, and he inspired other players. There's that famous story of him yelling, "Kill him," to Valverde in order to prevent a goal. And just that leadership in Valverde willing to do that, take that red card, and it's just that leadership would give that there. So right now, it's 2-1 to the past team. And then we look at Marcelo versus Mendy. I would have to go with Marcelo here. His touch, his brilliance on the ball, his presence going forward, and also his rock-solid defense is far better than Mendy, who's really just kind of known for his pace, and sometimes can be a liability going forward and coming back. So I think I would have to go with Marcelo in this case. Now if you go and looking at our holding midfielder, I think it would be Camavinga versus Casemiro in this case. Casemiro has been brilliant. We've seen him really kind of fall off a cliff recently, so I think people kind of remember that, the Manchester United Casemiro versus the Casemiro of Real Madrid. Camavinga is also going to be really growing into his own. He's a great player, and will continue to get better. But at this moment right now, I would have to go with Casemiro, giving another point to the past team over the present team. So if we recap that, I think it's now 4-1. I think it is Varane, Ramos, Marcelo, and Casemiro, and is Courtois right now for the future team. Now, if we look at kind of the moving forward midfielders, we have Kroos and Modric versus Bellingham and Valverde. We're going to give the past team 1 point. Let's just say it's Kroos over Valverde, and we're going to give Bellingham over Modric. So now we're at 5-2. Bellingham is a generational talent and will continue to get better. In no way am I trying to slight Luka Modric. In this case, Luka Modric is a fantastic player and deserves all the credit in the world. But I think Bellingham overall will have a better career, will be the better player overall, and we will be seen as more of a force moving forward and putting the ball in the back of the net, which is why I give the edge to Bellingham. If you go to Rodrigo versus Bale, people often remember the kind of the end of Bale's career where he wasn't doing that well. He's just kind of going through the motions. The Spanish fans are getting mad because he wouldn't learn Spanish. All that type of stuff was going around. But he was actually a brilliant player. And really, like, he helped them win a Champions League. He came on in the 61st minute and scored 2 goals. I think it was to beat Liverpool with carries and net. So, do that with you will. Rodrigo is a young player. He's really growing into his own. He's extremely good. If we were to kind of fudge the lines a little bit, we could put Vinny on that side. I would definitely go Vinny over Bale. But in this case, I would go Bale over Rodrigo, making it 6-2 for the past team. Mbappe versus Benzema, 2 French players, but I'm going to have to go with Mbappe here. Mbappe might go down as one of the greatest players of all time. Benzema will go down as a great player. So I'll go with Kylian Mbappe, so we're at 6-3. Coming now into the last spot, Ronaldo versus Vinicius Jr. A pretty easy answer here. Ronaldo for sure, winning 5 Champions Leagues with Real Madrid. I think it was 5. So he's absolutely fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Ronaldo is one of the greatest players of all time, one of the GOATs, if you will. I do have Messi above him, but you can roast me in the comments for that if you want, but I would go with Ronaldo over Vinicius. So at the end, I would have it 7-3 for the past team over the present team. But if these teams were to play head-to-head against each other, I think it would be pretty close. I think if they were to play 10 times, I think you'd see the past maybe win 6 out of those 10 times. But let's kind of talk about how does Real Madrid keep being able to kind of recycle players in and out, all this type of thing, right? Well, let's look at one example here with the Kylian Mbappe story, where he's wanted to go to Real Madrid for so long. He's been trying to force his way out of PSG. He's been trying to do anything he can to get out of PSG. And he finally gets what he wants, and he gets out of PSG, and he goes to Real Madrid. And that's kind of the mindset is, players want to play for Real Madrid. They grew up wanting to play for Real Madrid. Ronaldo, way back in the past, wanted to play for Real Madrid. He was on a Manchester United team that was one of the greatest teams in the world at that moment. But he still wanted to go to Real Madrid because it was his childhood favorite team. Mbappe was his childhood team he wanted to play for. He had players like Ronaldo telling him, if Real Madrid come calling, you have to go to Real Madrid, right? But also Real Madrid, kind of their scouting department does really well. They kind of find these players, build them up. Like Rudiger, they got on a free transfer, right? Toni Kroos, they got from Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich refused to pay him over $10 million a year. Bayern Munich said, you're a good player, but you will never be a great player. He goes to Real Madrid and becomes a fantastic player. But I think you can also look at their coaching. They had Zinedine Zidane in the 2010s helping them win, but they also have Carlo Ancelotti now who's helping them win. And Carlo Ancelotti is coaching a young team, making them better and making players want to go and play there, right? If you look at Vinicius Jr., when he first started, he was kind of just known for his pace. Everyone knew he was going to be a great talent, but Ancelotti really molded him into being a brilliant player. So I think these players they come into Real Madrid, they know they're going to get coached up well. They know that they're going to get the money in terms of compensation. And that really allows them to kind of have that security of, I want to go to Real Madrid. And they want to play for it because, again, they grew up cheering for Real Madrid. They grew up watching the Real Madrid versus Barcelona matchups, the Real Madrid versus Manchester United matchups, right? Now they're seeing the Real Madrid versus Man City matchups. And Real Madrid are winning these things. Real Madrid have a consistent excellence. They're winning Champions Leagues. And believe it or not, players want to win trophies. So if you know you're going to go to a team that's going to help you win trophies, you're going to go there, right? And Real Madrid, oftentimes, they may bring in a player and they bust. Let's look at Martin Odegaard. He was brought in at, I think it was 16, 15 years old. Didn't do well. I think he went to go play for Real Sociedad and then eventually Arsenal, where he's doing really well at Arsenal, right? So they are able to kind of recycle players in and out. They might not do well right away, but then they eventually can go on to do well at other places. But if they don't do well, Real Madrid is a big enough club, they can just let them go, and then it's next man up mentality. And I think that's why I see Real Madrid just being so dominant. And a lot of people kind of have issues with this. They were kind of wanting to be in the Super League, all that type of thing, right? But I think we need to sit back and just appreciate the brilliance of what Real Madrid is. Appreciate how they've gone from the 2010 team to this brand new team and kind of recycle the players, made a brand new team that's going to go out and dominate the world again. I, for one, am very excited to see what they do in the Champions League next season, to see what they do domestically next season. And I'm really looking forward to see how Real Madrid do. Let me know in the comments who you think will be even close to Real Madrid next season. Do you think Man City can beat them? Do you think Bayern Munich can beat them? Do you think PSG without Mbappe can beat them? I don't think so. So I would really be curious to think who do you think is going to be able to stop them. But like always, have a good one and let me know what you want to see next.